So, indicator 8, today we are going to learn about taxes. Okay, so learning target, I can use proportional relationships to find the amount of tax charged for an item. So, when we talk about taxes in the real world, everything we are paying a tax, whether we are paying to the government, the income tax, food tax, hotel tax, sales tax, whatever we are buying we are paying a tax for. Okay, so we are going to cover taxes today and how to calculate, because when we are paying, like let's say you go grocery shopping and you bought items for $50. Don't assume that you'll only have to dish out $50 for that. Okay, because to that you will have to add the taxes to pay the final amount. Okay, so what is a tax? So as you can see, tax is basically an amount of money which is added to the price of certain goods and services. And a tax is usually calculated as a percentage of the cost of the item. Some common forms of tax are sales tax, so you have income tax, property tax, hotel tax, and tax revenue is used to pay for government provided services. Okay. Now, sales tax, on the other hand, is a state or local tax that is added to the price of an item or service, and the total cost to purchase an item is the selling price plus the sales tax. Okay, and then again, the sales tax, it varies depending on the city or state in which you live. Consider the cost of a t-shirt, which is for $10, and it has a 7.5% tax rate. In situations like this, we are not just paying the $10 for the t-shirt. We do have to add on that 7.5% of the tax also. Okay, so let's go ahead and do some problems relating to taxes. And I'm going to show you a couple of methods, which are going to help you, and you can choose whichever method works for you. But there are several ways that you can do the calculations for finding the total amount with the tax included. Okay, so let's say we have a problem, and the problem says that Carrie wants to buy sports equipments that cost $140. Okay, so Carrie wants to buy sports equipment that costs $140, and the sales tax in her city is, so the sales tax in her city is going to be 5.75%. 5.75%. Okay, so now we need to find out how much is she going to end up paying for this, and what is the total cost of the equipment. All right, so before you can find the total cost that Carrie paid, what quantity do you need to find? Okay, so obviously, what we have to first find is the sales tax, and that's what we will first have to calculate, is the sales tax. All right, because then that will be added on to the cost of the $140. Okay, so I'm going to show you a couple of methods that this can be done. You can use ratio reasoning. You can use properties of operations. I'm also going to show you, using the percent formula, where A is equal to PW. Please remember, we've done this. And A is part of the whole, P stands for percent, and W stands for the whole. Okay, so if you're talking about the sales tax is 5.75%, so that's the P part of the percent, the formula, and the W, which is the whole, is the cost, which is $140. Okay, so when we take this formula, we are basically going to do, um, A is equal to PW, we have the P, which is this, we have the whole, which is this, and we are trying to find this part, which would be the amount when we are paying that tax, which is this much, 5.75, so that this can be added on to the cost. Okay, so when I am solving this, what does 5.75% means? Percent means that my denominator is going to be 100. Okay, so denominator is going to be 100. So therefore, A is, this is the part, is equal to 5.75 over 100, right? Now, there are several ways you know how to do this. You can convert it to a decimal also, you know, but I'm choosing to do it this way. And this, the whole is times 140. Okay, so that means this is the numerator. Basically, over 1 means the same thing. So I am going to simplify this. Okay, I'm going to simplify this and divide it by 10. You know, anything from the numerator to the denominator can be simplified. So I'm dividing the top and the bottom by 10. So this gone and this gone. The zeros are gone. Okay, and then I am going to divide. I can do it this way, or this, you know, this number, I can take one of those and divide it by 10. Let's say I choose to divide 14 by 10. So if I remove this here, this decimal goes 1 to the left, and that is, I am multiplying with 1 and 4/10 now. So to find this part, it is 5 and 7500 times 1 and 4/10. Okay, and so I'm going to go ahead and do my multiplication to see what my tax is going to be. And since this is multiplying decimals, I do not have to align the decimals. I just need to know how many digits are behind the decimal in order to put that in the product at the end. So we have 2 digits behind the decimal. We have 1 digit behind the decimal. Overall is 3. And hold on to this in the side. Okay, now 4 times 5 is 20, carry over 2. 4 times 7, 28, plus 2, which is going to give me 30. All right. And then 4 times 5 is 20, plus 3 gives me 23. Annex a 0. 1 times 5 is 5. 1 times 7 is 7. 1 times 5 is 5. Okay. Now, when I add this, I get 0, 5, 7 plus 3, 10, carry over 1, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? And then I've got this, so I go 1, 2, 3, and the amount of tax that I am paying is $8.05. So $8.05 is the extra tax that is going to be added to the $140 that I start, because this was the cost. Okay, so I'm going to do $140, okay, plus this tax, which is plus $8.05. Over here, I am going to put decimal above decimal because I'm adding, so I have to align the decimals, and I am going to annex my zeros. Okay, so 5 plus 0 is 5, 0, decimal under decimal. I have 8, I have 4, I have 1. So ultimately, how much do I end up paying for this? I'm going to end up paying $148.05 overall with the tax, not just the 140 initial cost. Okay, so this is one method of doing this. Let me show you one where you can use ratio reasoning. Okay, so we are going to write a proportion relating the two equivalent ratios. Okay, so I'm going to write a proportion. So this is one method. Another method is using ratio reasoning. Okay, we're going to do ratio reasoning. So I'm going to show you a couple of methods so that you can pick and choose what works best for you. All right. So we know that the proportion, we are going to write a proportion relating the two equivalent ratios. So let's say T represents the amount of sales tax. All right. So this is the tax over the cost, which is $140, is equal to, as we said, so the tax over this cost, the sales tax is 5 and 7500%. So look, percent, the denominator is always 100. So now what I'm doing is I am writing it out as an equivalent ratio, so it becomes easy for me to solve what the tax will be. So because 100 times 1 and 4/10 is, 100 times 1.40 is going to give me 140, right? So this is times 1.40, right? So whatever I'm going to do to the numerator, I'm going to do exactly the same thing to the denominator. So I am going to multiply 5 and 7500 times 1 and 4000. Okay, so whatever I do down to the denominator, same thing up here. Okay, and then when I multiply 5 and 7500 times 1 and 4000, I am going to get my tax, same value that I just did, which is $8.05. Okay, and then I am going to again take this and I am going to add it like I did over here. So I'm going to end up with exactly the same answer, which is $148.05. Okay, so this is the ratio reasoning method. Let's do the properties of operation method. Okay, so this is the second method. Then I'm going to teach you the properties of operations. Properties of operations method. Okay, so here's another method that we're going to work out. So what we're going to do again now, we are going to write it the same way like I had earlier. Tax over 140 is equal to 5 and 7500 over 100, right? So this is what I had. So now what I'm going to do is I am just going to make it a one-step equation by converting this to a decimal. Okay, so that basically means if I am dividing by 100, so look, I take away two zeros. And if I take away two zeros, I move the decimal two places to the left, 1, 2. And over here, I'm going to annex a 0. So what I'm left with is T over 140 is equal to decimal over here, and then annex a 0, 0, 5, 7, 5. Okay, so this is 575, 10,000. Okay, so that's what and I can put a 0 in front of the decimal. That just tells me there is nothing in the whole number. Okay, so now all I'm going to do is this is division. So what's the inverse of division? So I am going to use the multiplication property of equality. So I'm going to divide both sides, multiply both sides by 140 because this is division, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this equation. This is a one-step equation now. If I do times 140 and I do times 140, okay, so I know that this and this will cancel each other out because 140 divided by 140 is what? 1. And 1 times any number is that number itself. So this is going to be just T is equal to, when I multiply this, I'm again going to end up with my tax of $8.05. And then again, I'm going to take this number just like here, and I am going to add it up to my cost, which is $140, and I end up paying with the tax $148.05. Okay, so these are the three different methods in order to solve this. Let's go ahead and do another problem. And This is, okay. Actually, I wanted to show you one more method really quick before I go on to the next question. I want to show you the cross products method also, all right, which you are very familiar with. So let's say I remove this, okay? And I'm going to write out the same, either you do it this way, your ratio reasoning, but if I had done cross products using an equivalent ratio, I would still end up with exactly the same answer. So I just want to have want you to have that option, okay? Over 100. And if you remember cross products, this is what we do. T times 100 and this times this, right? So T times 100 is going to give me 100T, and this is going to give me 5 and 7500 times 140. Okay, and then the next thing I'm going to do is I am going to multiply these two, so I get 100. T is equal to, when I multiply this, I am going to get 805. 805. All right. And then next thing I'm going to do is solve for this one-step equation. Since this is multiplication, the opposite of multiplication, or the inverse operation, is going to be the division property of equality. It's a one-step equation. I'm going to divide both sides by 100, just like this. And 100 divided by 100 gives me 1. 1 times t gives me t. All right. And then if I'm dividing this by 805 by 100, look, 1, 2, 1, 2. So what is my tax? Again, $8.05, which I am adding on to the 140 to get $148.05. So literally, there are so many different ways that this can be solved, but I wanted you to look at all the different methods. So I've like just shown you 4 different methods that can be used in order to solve this. All right. So now let's go ahead and do another problem. Okay. Um, let's talk about a hotel tax, because that's one thing that we end up spending a lot. We're thinking like, hey, the cost of a hotel room rented for 2 nights is $280. So the hotel room is costing, for 2 nights, is costing $280. All right. And there's also a 12% hotel room tax. Okay, so 12% hotel room tax. And these taxes are pretty high most of the time. Okay, so there's a 12% hotel room tax. What is the total cost of the hotel room? So whenever you are reserving a hotel, please don't again assume that you are only paying what the price is being quoted wherever you are booking from, because that tax is added on at the end, and so you will have a much higher amount to pay than what is being reflected on the hotel page, okay, or Expedia, or wherever you are booking from. So the cost is $280. So I am just going to go ahead and use the formula once again. And if I say A is equal to PW, which is the percent formula, and I am obviously finding out the part, which is how much is that cost of the tax going to be. So that is my part, okay? So A is equal to, percent is 12%, which is 12 over 100. Okay, I can also write it as 1200, right? Because what is 12%? As a decimal, this is 1200. So I can write it like this, okay? So 1200 times 280. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and solve this. And when I multiply 12 a hundredth times 280, I am going to end up with $33.60. Okay, so this is going to give me $33.60. Now, please don't think that this is the amount you're paying for the hotel. Absolutely not. This is the amount that you are going to add. This is just the hotel room tax. So this tax is going to be added to the cost of the hotel. So you are going to take $280. All right, $280. And to that, you are going to add the tax amount, which is $33.60. So overall, you end up paying $313.60. So this is the amount that the hotel is actually going to cost for 2 nights. All right, this is the amount is going to cost for 2 nights. So this is one method. Once again, let me show you your ratio reasoning. So I am going to write it out. You're going to write a proportion relating the two equivalent ratios, and we are going to represent the sales tax with T. Okay, so all right. So we have T over $280 is equal to what is the percent? It is going to be 12 over 100. So this is the percent. So T over 280 is equal to 12 over 100, because 100 times 2 and 80 so times 2 and 80 is going to give me 280, right? And so whatever I do to the denominator, I do the same thing to the numerator. So I'm going to multiply this with 2 and 80 and when I multiply 12 times, so I'm doing basically 12 times 2 and 80, that's what I am doing right now. And when I multiply that, I am going to get this answer. This T is going to be 33 and 60 hundredth. All right, so that's giving me the part. So T is equal to, my T is equal to $33.60, which now again, I am going to, just like I showed you over here, this has to be added to my $280. And then the total amount that I end up spending is $313.60. Okay. I can again do cross products. I can do 100T times 280 times 12. And then if I use cross product method, I will still end up with T being 3360, which again, I am adding on to the hotel tax. Okay. Using the properties of operation, let me show you that again. If I'm using the properties of operation method, which I showed you earlier, so let me go ahead, write it out again. I have tax over cost of the hotel is equal to 12 over 100. So, I am just going to convert the percent to a decimal. So basically, what is this? T over 280 is equal to, look, 1, 2, 1, 2. It moves to the left. So this becomes 1200. Okay. And then T over 280 is what? This is division. So we are going to use the inverse operation, which is multiplication. All right, because this is a one-step equation. So this is going to be times 280. Whatever I do to one side of the equation, I've got to do exactly the same thing on the other side of the equation. So this is times 280. All right, 280 divided by 280 gives me 1. And 1 times T is going to give me T. And then when I multiply these two like I had done earlier, you are again going to end up as, you're going to simplify, and your tax is going to be 3360. And then you take this 3360 here, and you add it to 280, and you end up with the cost of $313.60. Okay. So let's do one last one. It's to do with sales tax. And here, I'm going to write this up. When you are purchasing stuff in the stores, you are paying a sales tax. Okay. So, Henry purchases $56 worth of clothing at the store. Okay. So, on the clothing, he has purchased worth $56. Okay. And on this, the sales tax in his city is 7.5%. So the sales tax in his city is equal to 7.5%. Okay, so what is the total amount that he's actually spent on the clothing? Definitely not just $56, right? Because to that $56, he's got to add the 7.5% tax. Okay, so in order to do that, I'm again just going to go ahead and straight up do the percent formula. A is equal to PW. All right. So what is the tax, which is the part I am going to convert 7.5% into a decimal. Okay, convert the percent to a decimal. So that means I divide by 100. I remove the two zeros, and because the number is getting smaller because of division, my decimal is going to move two places to the left. So here we go. 1, 2. And then I am going to annex a 0, and here is my decimal number now. Okay. So my percent is 75,000, right? And that times 56, times 56. Okay. And then all I'm doing is I am multiplying. So I have 75,000 times 56. And whenever I am doing multiplication, please make sure with decimals, we always count how many digits are behind the decimal. So in this case, we have 3 digits here, no digits behind the decimal. Total amount is 3, and then we'll come back to this at the end for the product. All right. And so 5 times 6 is 30. All right. 7 times 6 is going to give me 42 plus the 3, okay, which is 45. All right. And then I have my 6 times 0 is 0 plus 4. And then 6 times 0 is 0. Annex is 0. 5 times 5 is 25. Okay, so you bring that up. And then I do my 5 times 7, which is going to give me 35 plus 2, which is 37. 5 times 0, 0 plus 3, and 5 times 0 is 0. Okay, so when I add this up, I get 0. 5 times 5 is 10, carry over 1. 7 plus 4 plus 1, that's like saying 8 plus 4, and that gives me 12, carry over 1. 3 plus 1 is 4. Okay, and then I am going to go how many places to the left? 3. So 1, 2, 3. And so what's my tax? My tax is definitely, remember, money is rounded to the 100th place value. So my tax, my A is going to be $4.20. So in order to find out the total amount that I have, I am going to take my initial cost, which is $56, right? $56 plus $4.20. And so when I end up adding this, I get 0, 2, and it's 6 plus 4 is 10. So uh, carry over my 1, and then 5 plus 1 is 6. So $60.20 is actually the total amount that I will end up paying for the $56 worth of clothing. Okay. Again, you can use any of the other methods. You can use the proportion method to find the amount of tax. And, you know, so here, same thing. I'm just going to write it up here. Um, Tax over 56 is equal to 7.5%. So I'm basically writing out the equation, and then I can just, go ahead and immediately divide this out. So T over 56 is equal to, same thing, 1, 2. So we go 1, 2 to the left, and here, okay, 75,000. And then this is division. So the opposite of division is multiplication, property of equality. Multiply both sides by 56 times 56, right? This and this cancel each other out, and T is equal to, look, same thing here. And I get $4.20, which I add on to the 56 to end up with exactly the same answer. All right. We can also move, okay, you can also write an equation, add the sales tax percent to 100%. And so basically it's any of these methods that I am showing you over here. There are 4 different methods that I showed you. You can use any of those methods. You can definitely write an equation where I can say the cost. I can also write an equation where I say the cost is equal to 56 plus my 75,000, because 7.5% times 56, right? Of 56. Here we go. We can also do it this way. So we write an equation, because the total cost is the cost of the clothing plus the sales tax. The sales tax, and C is representing the total cost. So we can always write it as an equation like this. All right. And then let's say I am going to use distributive property. I am going to take 56 over here, and I am going to do this. All right. So if I flip this around, this is 56 times this, right? So here, if I flip these two around, I'm just showing you 56 plus 56 using the commutative property of multiplication. So if I did that, I'm just trying to convert it to distributive property. So 56 divided by 56, here, there's 1 plus 75,000. So I'm using distributive property over here. Then I can again add these two. So I'm just showing you there's so many different ways that this can be done. And I get 1 and 75,000. And then all I do is I multiply, okay? And then but this one is going to get me straight to this, because what do I have over here? I have the cost plus I have the sales tax, right? So this, now when I multiply this, I'm going to straight up get $60.20. So here's another option I needed you to have. Remember that with taxes, it's not just what you think. You are looking at the price at the store, and you're like, hey, I definitely have that much money. But then when you add the checkout counter, you're going to see that it's going to be higher than that. So you don't want to be surprised. Always think about that. You always have to include tax to that. So whatever you see in the store, you are going to have to add a couple of dollars. So make sure that you have enough money to pay for that item. All right. So that was indicator 8 and all to do with taxes. All right. Have a great day.